one of my favorite things to like watch and listen to now is book summaries, and I've got like a newfound love for them. And I was like, you know what, I basically do book summaries like involuntarily for my friends at work anyway, so why don't I actually like just make a video or whatever and do a book summary. So here I am. Welcome to my book summary. Today's book summary is completely unhinged because guess whose book we're covering? You probably guessed it right, Colleen Hoover. And it's November 9. I feel like I don't see people talking about November 9 a lot, but listen, a lot of Colleen Hoover books are unhinged, and don't get me started on November 9. And the most jarring bits at the end, but this is going to be like super brief summary. So essentially what happens is you're introduced to the main character. Can't remember her name to save my life, but just imagine main character, and she's basically a burns victim. She was the only one who was injured in the house fire, and she goes to this diner on November 9th, which is the anniversary of, I think, like when she was injured or whatever. And so she goes there and she's meeting her dad. Her dad's kind of like an a-hole, just saying, like he's like really bad, like it's so hard to please. And then this random guy overhears their conversation, and then I don't know how, but somehow ends up pretending to be her boyfriend in front of her dad. And then from then on, like every chapter is basically the next November 9th. Side caveat, her mom told her never to like get into a serious relationship until she's 23, because that's when like people get their life together. Complete bull, by the way. Nobody has their life together at 23. Maybe some people, but probably not. Like there's got to be something that's falling apart. But anyway, that's what her mom says, so that's what she does. And so she's like, listen, we can like, I don't know what this is and what's going on. Also, there's some questionable things going on, like literally from the first time they meet. Like he's just like looking at her scars and stuff. It's crazy, you know, like from her burns. And yeah, so every year basically they meet on November 9th. They don't speak to each other. To be honest, logistically, I don't understand how they meet up every time, because like they don't have each other's phone number. Like that's a big like story plot point. Like this, honestly, I just don't understand logistically how this is working. But anyway, they do that. And then like every November 9th, something of significance happens. So obviously like the first November 9th is the burn, but we don't know about that. The second November 9th is, or like technically the first in terms of the story, because she's 18 when you meet her. So there's 5 years until she's going to actually potentially be in a relationship with someone. She goes over to his place in California because she's gone to New York, and they do the thing, and then this random lady walks in, and it turns out that that's his brother's wife who is with child, okay? And then the next year he's not going to show up to November 9th, and like she's like, what? And then we find out that his brother has died, because I think he had like a seizure or an aneurysm or a heart attack or something. So then she flies out to go and see him, and they have this whole like encounter that probably shouldn't be happening to someone who's in mourning, but like whatever. And then he's like, oh, I like want to be in a relationship, and she kind of like agrees and is kind of like, yeah, I'll give you my number. But then she's like, the next day she's like, I'm not actually going to give you my number, because I told you I have to wait till I'm 23. And then anyway, then we at the next November 9th, and now his brother's wife has had the child. She sees the child, and then long story short, somehow she finds out that now the guy is in a relationship with his dead brother's wife. Apparently this is common occurrence. Listen, I know like in like old school like brown culture this is a thing, like, and if you've watched like Hum Aapke Hair Gone, like all these movies, like it's all happening in there, but it's still jarring, it's still weird. I don't want to say the I word, but we know what I'm thinking of, okay? And so then she's like, what? And so she like flips her lid, whatever. She's like, ew, whatever. Anyway, somewhere along the line, we find out, by the way, this guy's a writer. Of course, there's got to be a writer in the books. This guy's a writer. He writes this manuscript. She somehow gets her hands on it, starts reading it, realizes he's the one that set the flipping fire that she got burnt in. What? So this whole thing lasts for like 4 years, elaborate scheme she's thinking. But basically he says that he was under the impression, so his mom and her dad had a thing apparently, which they didn't know about. Like, as in they didn't know like really what was going on. And then his mom committed suicide, so and he thought it was because of her dad, and so he went to go and like burn a car or something at that guy's house. But what he didn't know is that that was one of the very few times that the girl was going to go and I feel like I should remember their names for this story, but it's one of the few times that the girl was going to go and stay with her dad, and happened to be there, and she happened to get burnt in the process. And then he saw it on the TV and saw there was a survivor, and so he wanted to go and see on the, and like who it was essentially, and because he was felt guilt and he felt bad, whatever. And so when he got there and he saw her, he couldn't help himself and stay away like he should have. And yeah, he like got involved, and that's how the whole like we're gonna meet on November 9th thing happened, right? And then obviously it became this whole thing, and apparently his brother found out, and his brother was like no. And then I'm not sure if I'm remembering this incorrectly, but did his brother die because he found out, like as in like he had a heart attack because he realized like that this guy, the girl that his brother was like kind of like seeing is the girl that he technically like committed like arson, aggravated arson. I mean, this is in the US, but in the UK, with my minimal, actually I have a significant amount of law knowledge, that's aggravated arson. You have injured a human being. Anyway, and so she's like, she doesn't even read the whole manuscript because now she's like, this is all a lie, he's crazy. And this like scar fetish thing that we've been getting this whole time just started to make a lot more sense. And then on the 5th November 9th, she wakes up really late or something like that, and then she wakes up and her mom's already there and her mom's crying, and then she realizes her mom's reading the manuscript, and her mom's like, have you read this? This is the bit that I found the most jarring. And she's like, well yeah, like I read the first bit, like not the whole thing, because like what else do I need to know? He like is a con artist, you know what I mean? He needs an Oscar performance because he's been lying to me for 4 years. Technically he hasn't been lying for 4 years because they only see each other like one time a year, and like cumulatively I think it accounts to like 23 hours or something crazy like that. Like they've barely seen each other, whatever. So it's really not that impressive in the long run, because they don't have to see each other out of hours essentially. But yeah, and she's like, no, like what else do I need to know? Like that guy, he's like crazy. To be honest, I'm surprised she didn't go to the police. I don't know what the statute of limitation is on that kind of thing, but it's only been 4 or 5 years. Surely. Also, what were the police doing in this time? Like, how have they not found the person who committed arson and aggravated arson at that, causing like bodily harm? This is also potentially assault. I don't know, like a bunch of things, right? Also, did I mention that the mom actually didn't kill herself because like she didn't commit suicide because of the girl's dad, but it's because she found out she had cancer and she didn't want to live through that. Like she didn't want to live through the pain. Anyway, so basically he did it for no reason. But anyways, then like I said, the jarring part is her mom, and her mom's like, look, she's like, honey, do you not know, like just because you have the physical scars, but he has mental scars. Like he didn't know, like he thought your dad did it. And I'm like, what? First of all, I don't know a single mother that would think like this. If anything, it would be the complete opposite. She'd be like crazy, like running fast. It just reminds me of my mum, right? When I was little, went to India, and we were going to like this like one of the Gurdwara, little like place of worship, like pilgrimage kind of vibe, right? And it was really busy because we went on one of the days when there was a festival there, and this guy was like trying to wedge his car through the crowds of people that were walking, and then he almost ran over my foot. My mom, I vividly remember she was cussing, like effing and blinding in English, might I add, because my mom doesn't really speak Punjabi, like to this guy, and this guy was cussing my mom back in Punjabi, and my dad was like, you need to calm down. My mom was like, calm down, he almost ran over your only daughter's foot. Do you know what I mean? Like, imagine if there was a burn victim where like all of her left side of her body, which she could have almost died in this fire, and her mom's like, he has like mental scars. Anyway, and this girl actually goes for it. Go back, end of the book, it's like happily ever after, and they're like, the last line of the book is not the end, it's the start of the beginning or something stupid. Listen, the way that I was triggered by this book, but particularly that ending, like up until then I was pretty indifferent, and I kind of figured like, oh, he's going to be the one that's accidentally caused this fire or something, but it's the mom's reaction for me. When I heard the mom's reaction, I was like, can we please revoke her motherhood and birth this daughter to another family, because her dad's no good, her mom's no good, now her future partner is no good. And also he slept with his brother's ex-wife, his dead brother's, not ex-wife, I guess, widow. Yeah. Very confusing for their child, I'm sure. Anyway, that was my book summary. Just so you didn't have to read it, okay? Alright, bye-bye.